The following program is underwritten by...
It's important to handle any pet behavioral issues with love and care rather than pain and punishment. That's why Dr. Roger Mugford from the Company of Animals created the Pet Corrector, which allows you to safely change unwanted behaviors in your dog, like barking, with a simple... Order yours today at www.companyofanimals.us.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
Okay, I want you to look into your wallet or your phone, either one right now, and if all of the pictures in there are of your cat or your dog or your ferret or whatever animal you have, you found the right show. This is it. Animal Radio, 1-866-405-8405 to reach out. We're all just as crazy about our animals as you are. And we have Dr.
Nuts.
Crazy, like we're certified. We're lucky to have a radio show. But they said animals? Yeah, why not? You know, few of us have animals. In fact, about 68% of households have animals. And if you don't, what are you waiting for? The shelters are just waiting for you to come on down and meet some beautiful animals that'll capture your hearts, and you can take them home with you and have a brand new forever friend. I just kind of sort of went off on a tangent there.
Yeah, you did, Hal.
I was thinking how wonderful that was. It's beautiful.
So we're going to go to the phones here. We have Dr. Debbie to answer all those vet medical questions. We have dog father Joey Villani, who's a groomer extraordinaire. You've seen him on Animal Planet's Dogs 101 and Groomer Has It. And he, we thought that you didn't need to groom an animal until he came on board. And we realized what we were really missing out on and how well our animal could look if we gave it a little attention.
Regular grooming.
So if you want to talk to either one of them, it's free of charge. 1-866-405-8405. In just a second, but first let's find out what's going on in the newsroom with Miss Lori Brooks.
Well, recently we looked back at the 10th anniversary of Hurricane Katrina. So, when you look back, you have to go retrospect. What did we learn? And I thought there was one huge tip that we learned that most people really didn't take away from the story. So we're going to share with you what it is that you really need to have learned from big natural disasters about your pet.
That's on the way. Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Great.
Where are you calling from today?
Well, right now I'm in Rolling Heights.
Rolling Heights.
Right.
Is that the L.A. area, Los Angeles area?
Well, yeah, it's east of L.A.
Okay. So what's going on with your animals? I have the entire dream team here for you.
Well, it's kind of a weird situation. I have a 17-year-old indoor cat. It's been indoor ever since my girlfriend and her son got it.
Okay.
The outdoor cat, I rescued it. It was growing up in the wild. Somebody dumped it off, and for about a year and a half or so, it was living with raccoons.
Oh my!
And then there was a couple other people, I guess, were dumping cats off, and then how this cat got the one I have now got caught in a cage and went berserk. It got an infection in Humane Society out in Pomona, California, and so I went down, I rescued it, I nursed it back to health, and it's the most lovable cat that you have ever seen.
Wow.
Aww.
It's a female. It wants to be a mother hen. It licks me. It purrs. It sleeps with me on the bed, on the pillow. It always tries to bathe me.
Oh, that's wonderful. So what's going on with these guys, Jim? What's your problem?
Well, I see bumps every now and then. I don't see fleas or ticks or anything, and they have been scratching up the kazoo.
Oh, okay. All right. Do they have any sores on their bodies?
Well, I see bumps. I can feel bumps, but when I look, it could be sores, but I think it's from them scratching or biting or picking on themselves.
Ah, okay. All righty. So if we see little small bumps or feel them on cats, especially if they're kind of like, if you look at them closely, they might be a little pink, a little kind of almost like a pimple, and sometimes they'll have a scab on them. Then that can be a condition we call miliary dermatitis, and it's miliary kind of like millets is kind of like what it looks like, little bumps. Miliary dermatitis can happen from a lot of different reasons in cats. The number one thing that causes it is flea allergy dermatitis. So that's always the number one thing on my list when I hear of kitties that have these little bumps, usually around the neck, the head, sometimes on the chest, but also along the back.
Right.
There are some other causes of that as well, and that might be things like a bacterial infection, allergies or food allergies, and even things like ringworm. So cats don't always have to get ringworm with like a hair loss like a person does. They can actually get these little bumps. So since you do have a kitty going outside, I'm going to say number one thing we need to focus on is flea control. And the funny thing that I always have this conversation with folks about cats, and a lot of folks will say, oh, I never see fleas or any evidence of fleas on my cat. And that's because in many cases, cats are doing what they do best. They groom, and they groom themselves really well. So we can't count on seeing evidence of fleas on cats. If we're in an area that has fleas, and especially with having one going outside, we really need to treat appropriately with that. And that might be a combination of a oral product such as Comfortis, along with a topical product on a regular monthly basis. So that is by far the number one thing I'm going to ask you to do for both cats. The other thing, and if we do have fleas, to realize is if you have that one cat going outside, we are going to struggle. We are going to struggle hard to control fleas and any resulting skin side effects because of that. So if we're really concerned about getting this under control, we'll try to keep the outdoor cat indoors for about a month's time so we can really do our best to try to get the flea control under our belts there. But then, this would be something, if you haven't already taken the babies to the vet, we'd want to do that and just make sure we don't have something like ringworm and check to see if we need to be on an antibiotic, or if they do see fleas, sometimes we'll use a bit of a steroid just to help decrease the itch so we don't have so much self-trauma as a result of the itch, because dogs, cats, they can have flea allergy dermatitis, which means they are unreasonably itchy from the bite of the flea, from the saliva. So it doesn't have to be that we have tons of fleas. It could be one flea, and if you have an allergic pet, they are just going crazy from that itch. So that's when we'll often use things like prednisone or other types of steroids just to help kind of quiet down that reaction there.
As far as them bathing themselves, licking and all that, I guess what you call it, washing their body or something. They always do that too all day long.
Yeah, that's normal. I mean, kitties, they are fastidious creatures, so, it is really their job to keep that hair coat looking good, and if something offending is there, they're going to get it out of there. So, yeah, that's why, they may just be doing a really good job of that. So you got a little bit of work there, Jim, but, work with your veterinarian and see about getting the right treatment and the right products. So, this is something I definitely like to work with my clients, because some of the topicals alone aren't going to give us the quickest relief, especially with flea allergy dermatitis. We got to use some of these quick kill type products, and many of them are the oral forms.
Right. Yeah, I tried that frontline for a while, and I wasn't sure if that was helping it or not. To me, it didn't seem like it made a difference.
Yeah.
You tried what? I missed that.
Frontline. He tried Frontline. So we're talking about some of the orals, though. These are different medicines. These are medicines that you take internally. Is that correct?
Right. And there's not every topical is created equal. So we prefer to have a topical that, if possible, has a quick kill. If not, that's when we pull out the oral medications, Capstar, Comfortis, and a lot of these, they will kill those fleas so quickly. But if your cat's going outside, they're going to get reinfested. So that's where keeping them indoors just to get a handle on things can be very helpful for the initial stages of trying to treat this. I applaud you. You're doing something right, Jim. You got that 17-year-old cat. So give those babies a hug and a little scratch. And thanks so much for your call.
All right. Thank you so much.
Take care, Jim. We appreciate it. Yeah, we have Nike the studio cat, and it just takes one flea bite, and he
miserable.
His whole body gets bumps
covered with sores.
And the Comfortis worked very well for us, and a steroid shot that day when we discovered that.
Yeah,
and so,
cleared him up fast.
Doing that. So if you want to talk to Dr. Debbie or Dogfather Joey Villani or even Ladybug the studio stunt dog, toll free 1-866-405-8405. And I encourage you, if you happen to have a Yorkshire Terrier, a Shih Tzu, a Pug, or a Mini Schnauzer, did you know our very own talented Dr. Debbie has written books called How to Be Your Dog's Best Friends about these breeds right here. And I'm going to try to convince her to work on some other breeds. But if you have one of these right now, you definitely want to have this Guardian's Manual available as Kindle books over at Amazon.com. And, of course, we have links over at AnimalRadio.com. Let's head back to the phones for your calls. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405.
Are there any natural, holistic treatments for fleas? I get tired of searching for one.
Well, like all the old wives things like garlic really don't work. As far as like the skin's so soft, you can do that in a diluted spray, and that can be one thing you can use. Trying to think. Holistic isn't my forte specifically.
I just feel so bad dumping a chemical on my cat's skin or dog.
You know, and I'm with you on that. I really am, because I accidentally spilt some of that Frontliner Advantage, and it splattered on my keyboard on my computer, and it ate a little hole right where it splattered. I'm thinking
but you think of all the different types of products, and if you put them on a plastic, plastic is just not a normal substance.
But you would put something on skin that would eat away at plastic? I just don't know. I'm having a hard time with that, Doc.
Well, and there's different carriers and such within those products, which may not necessarily be causing a problem, but will on plastic, can cause a surface change. So.
Okay.
By the same token, I did find a natural one time in the store, and this was many moons ago, at least 10 years ago. But it was like a clove oil and something else, and it was way too strong. I tested it on my own inner arm first, and it burned my skin, so I wasn't going to put it on my cat either.
Matthew, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you. How are you all today?
Doing good. What's going on?
I got a question for Dr. Debbie about my 6-year-old male golden doodle. And
okay.
He's a good boy. I love him. And what I really want is, I don't want to second guess my vet diagnosis, but I want to question his pain level. It's a question I forgot to ask the vet. He's recently come up intermittently lame in his left hind, and we sedated him and did some radiological, stuff, and his hip looks good. There's no signs of any bone cancers or growth or tumors, and no movement in his hips, no drawer signs in his knee. There's no signs of an arthritic condition, but she diagnosed acute arthritis. But his pain level it seems severe to me. Can the onset of arthritis cause, real severe pain in these guys?
Okay, I'm going to back up here a little bit. Now, you said on the x-rays they did not see any changes, but when we diagnose arthritis, generally off of an x-ray there's some changes where we go, ooh, look at all those little knobby things on the bones or on the joints, and that's a sign that it's kind of been a chronic osteoarthritis condition. Now, did they see anything like that?
No, she's seen no abnormalities, but she said it could be the beginnings of.
Okay.
And it just didn't sound right to me. And if there's no drawer sign, I guess, so there's no ACL rupture or anything like that, could there be other issues going on in his knees or hips that I should maybe go get a second opinion on?
Definitely. It's quite possible. And when we're talking about, just so I can explain for everyone else, drawer sign is a common kind of a test, a physical movement that veterinarians will do in generally a sedated pet. And we wiggle the knee, and we basically test for instability in the ligaments there. And one of the major support ligaments in the knee, called the cruciate ligament, when that's damaged or torn completely, there's some movement. It's kind of like a drawer that's kind of opening. So if they didn't see that, it's possible we could have, some maybe partial cruciate injuries that could cause a lot of knee pain and lameness and not show any kind of signs on x-rays or on that physical exam. As far as arthritis, I usually reserve that diagnosis to when we have chronic changes and where we can see radiographic evidence that there's some changes in the joints. So I might back up and say, we have an acute strain or sprain, or maybe we have something else going on, and that's very possible. As far as the physical exam, I think in this point would probably be the biggest thing that I would fall back on, and where their suspicions might lie, whether that's in the knee, the hip, or what have you. Now, did they put your baby on any medications of any sort?
Yeah, some Remedil, and she said that she wants to use it when the pain starts to flare up. I've had him on glucosamine chondroitin for about a year, just as a preventative, and it does show up when he does get very active. And sometimes it goes in a day, but it's coming on more often now, and the pain's lasting longer. If that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, and I guess I'm going to be a little wishy-washy because I would like to say that, the physical tests support what you're seeing at home, and if it doesn't all fit, then I don't want to say your vet's wrong, but, I would definitely want to make sure that the signs of what you're seeing agree with what they're seeing and describing in the physical exam. And if not, now the other thing is, a lot of times, my father's even guilty of this, anti-inflammatories in many cases work best when we do use them for a consistent period of time. So you can do that hit or miss treatment, but if we're having especially more established discomfort or lameness, it's better to use that for, of course, a period of time consistently, and you'll get better response with the inflammation as well as with the pet's comfort than just that once in a blue moon kind of thing. But if that therapy is not working, gosh, there's some other things you can look at getting into. If we have definite osteoarthritis, chronic changes, there are many foods that have glucosamine enhanced in there. There's a product called Adequan, which is an injectable formula that can be very nice in helping pets with arthritic pain. But usually arthritis is kind of that achiness, that slowness to get up, that I've overdone it, and I'm just having a rough time. If we have more acute pain, really more intense, then I really want to go back to that physical exam and look again.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics, canine caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
Did that get your attention? That's how it works on your dog, correcting undesirable behaviors. It's important to handle any pet behavioral issues with love and care, rather than pain or punishment. The Pet Corrector allows you to safely change unwanted behaviors in your dog, like excessive barking, stealing food or shoes, or chasing people and dogs. With a simple, you can stop all these problems. Find out more at www.companyofanimals.us and get the dog you've always wanted. Right, Max?
Like the taste of fresh apples? Try an Angry Orchard hard cider. At Angry Orchard, we believe in tradition. That's why we use apples from a 100-year-old orchard. It takes 2 apples to make each bottle of Angry Orchard. So raise a glass to a time when apples were best served in a pint glass. Angry Orchard, when you're looking for something a little different. Crisp, refreshing, and not too sweet. Just like me. Angry Orchard hard cider. Branch out.
Angry Orchard Cider Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Drink responsibly.
Stella and Chewy's believes that selecting the best food is one of the most important decisions an owner can make for their pet. They believe that pets thrive when they're fed the same diet they'd get in the wild. Dogs and cats are carnivores, and meal mixers are a quick and convenient way to mix a little raw nutrition and great taste into their diet. Made from premium raw ingredients like grass-fed meat and cage-free poultry with organic fruits and vegetables. Meal mixers help kickstart your kibble. Learn more at StellaandChewy's.com.
This is Greg Biffle on Animal Radio, and remember to spay and neuter your pets.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Head back to the phones in just a second. Toll free at 1-866-405-8405. That spells nothing. Not that we haven't tried. But it spells nothing. But it does have kind of a little ring to it, 1-866-405-8405. Let's see.
I think you need to sing it.
Yeah, we should get jingle singers to do that.
Call 1-866-405-8405 today.
That sounds a lot like the Pet Playgrounds jingle.
Who knew?
And you can also ask your questions directly from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android and BlackBerry. It's a free download. Thanks to those folks over at Doctors Foster's and Smith. And the great thing about the app is not only can you ask the questions, you can listen to any show you want, Animal Radio show. The Andy Griffith Show is not on there yet. But you can also browse the deep resources. We have lots of resources for you and news that's important for you. So if there's a recall of a certain food and you need to know about it, you'll know about it through the Animal Radio app. So we make fun about it, but it's an important app to have. And as I've said before, it's so important, I've actually downloaded it twice. I have it twice on my phone.
Wow.
You don't have to do that. I'm just asking you to download it once. Joey Villani, the dog father. What's on the docket for later today?
Pulling hair out of cats' ears, for real.
Really?
Serious? Somebody would actually attempt that?
That sounds dangerous.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
I would not do that.
No.
I think their ear is supposed. When I started pulling hair out of my ears, my doctor said that hair is there for a reason, like it's supposed to protect your ears. Isn't that the same?
I think ears are kind of sacred territory.
They are sacred territory.
And humans, you're supposed to have. I don't have any hair in my ears.
Okay, well we'll find out more details.
It's a guy thing, Judy.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. I don't pull hair out of my ears either. Thank you.
Okay, I've been a nurse on many a weekends, and I've seen lots of hairy ears on men, but never on women, okay?
Really?
Really?
That's because we pull the hair out.
But I'm sure that I am going to get the hairy woman ear story in the next half hour. Hey, coming up here, who influences you when you buy a car? Is it your mother-in-law, your mother, your father, your husband, your wife, brother, sister? Or is it your dog, your cat, or your pet fish?
Ooh.
There's a correct answer, and I will share which one with you coming up.
I consult my fish all the time before I make big purchases.
Smart move.
I'm going with that.
Yes, me too, especially if it's the ones purchases that I want.
Yep, if you float to the top, that means I'm not getting it.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Hi, this is Justin Tyler Ferguson from Modern Family. I'm on Animal Radio. Adopt a pet.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. So who influences you when you get to buy a new car? Well, according to Auto Trader, more than half of America's 54 million dog owners consider buying a vehicle based on its ability to accommodate their dogs. According to Auto Trader, they say the list considers cars with features that pet owners need, like things we like, too, that are really handy when you have a pet, a dog. Like those rear seats that fold flat, a rear lift gate, underfloor storage, and even rear climate control. That would be so nice. Well, there are 9 cars on the list, and they include Audi's all-wheel drive wagon, the Ford Edge crossover, the little tiny Honda Fit, the Jeep Renegade, Kia Sedona, Subaru Crosstrek, and the Mercedes GLA class, plus a few others. Well, just a few days ago, we observed the 10-year anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, the largest ever U.S. natural disaster. Well, there were a lot of lessons that we learned, the hard way, like we need to have a plan. Experts say be sure that you have a crate in which to transport your pet, and make sure that your pet is crate trained for a disaster. And if you're wondering why, let me tell you, most pet-friendly shelters during a disaster, well, they require you to bring your cat in a carrier or your dog in a crate. And there they will stay in that crate or carrier except for potty breaks. And in most cases, you will not be staying with your pet. So be sure that you have everything labeled to help keep your pet inside safe. And, just kind of think, if I were taking care of 900 dogs and 600 cats in a crisis situation, what would make it easier for me to make sure that my baby, my pet, gets everything it needs and, go accordingly. For a real in-the-moment flashback, too, on what it's like for the animals during such a disaster, there's a really good video made by dogs, wink, wink, as a thank you to their rescuers and shelter volunteers during Katrina. And we have that link for you on our website at animalradio.com. Be sure to grab a tissue, okay? I'm Lori Brooks. You can get more breaking animal news anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellin and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
Did you know canine caviar diets are formulated with common health concerns in mind, such as diabetes, cancer, and kidney disease? You see, canine caviar uses low GI carbs, which reduce hunger and prolong physical endurance. Free of GMO, gluten, hormones, steroids, and antibiotics. Canine Caviar's 5-star dog and cat foods are the only alkaline-based foods in the world, and that promotes a healthy lifestyle for your furry family. Find out more at caninecaviar.com.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Animal Radio, celebrating our connection with your pets. I wish we were lucky enough to be the guys going out on tour for the Get Your Licks on Route 66 adoption tour.
Maybe next year.
Seems like Susan always gets that privilege of doing it. We're going to be talking to her today?
We are.
She's in L.A., isn't she?
Yes, kicking it off.
Kicking it off the tour. And we're going to be all along Route 66. If we come to your town, you got to come visit us because we're not only going to have the adoptable animals, we're going to just be having a lot of fun. Today, we are in L.A., on the 16th, we'll be in Phoenix. The 19th, Albuquerque. Santa Fe on the 20th. On September 26th, we'll be in OK City. That's Oklahoma City.
Yes,
I was just trying to be cool there. Tulsa, Oklahoma. Springfield, Missouri. Joplin, Missouri. St. Louis, Chicago. Springfield. And October 17th, as we almost wrap up the tour, we'll be in Kansas City, hanging out with the Wayside Waifs. And speaking of the Wayside Waifs, they are probably ground zero for classes in non-bullying. Allison Basinger, how you doing, Allison?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Tell us all about Wayside Waifs over there and what you do specifically.
Well, I mean, do you have 2 hours?
Give me the abbreviated version.
Okay. Darn it. Well, specifically, we have a beautiful, almost 50-acre campus here, and we really make sure that we're giving all of the animals a full circle of care. So we have pet adoption services, and we have a FEMA-certified animal rescue team.
Wow, that sounds like an incredible facility. You are teaching a local bullying course, is that correct?
That is correct.
What is that all about? Because they don't have that where I live. They should, because I get bullied all the time. And I make fun of bullying, but it really is a very serious problem.
It's absolutely a serious problem. And wherever you live, we could certainly hook them up with our curriculum because we are launching it nationally.
Oh, wow.
For other organizations.
Okay.
But let me tell you about it. It's really important for us to talk about bullying as the action rather than bullies as naming or labeling a person with that action. And the reason it's important to separate is because a lot of times kiddos who are bullying other kids or animals, often they're doing so because they have hurt in their own lives, or they're doing it because that's what they've seen the adult people around them doing. So I'd really love to go and teach this class to some adults, not to get my sassy pants on. But, a lot of times adult people, we got to remember that we're the examples to the little people. And we got to check ourselves and hold ourselves to high standards.
Sure.
Specifically, we teach 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students.
Well, now where do the animals come in?
Well, they come with us to the class.
Okay.
Yes. So we're talking about core values, compassion, responsibility, self-control, integrity. And every day we look at one of those core values and how do we put those into practice with our people friends, but also with our animal friends. And so I have a dog named Justice. And I also have a dog named Paxton. We call him Pax for short. And they come with me into the classrooms, and they're just walking around the classrooms, interacting with the students while we're talking about how do we practice these core values with our people friends and our animal friends.
Do you have any stories where you actually witnessed a transformation of a child who might have been bullying other children?
Do you have 2 hours?
Yeah, right. That's the thing. Justice, he's an older guy. He's a Cocker Spaniel. He's about 14 years old, and he has got a lot of prestige about him. So he wears a necktie when we go into the classrooms. And one day we were specifically talking about the core value of compassion. And this little boy said, "Oh, Miss Basinger, I think Justice's necktie is too tight around his neck." And I said to him, "Oh, my goodness, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for showing so much compassion for our animal friends." And I went over and I checked his tie, Justice's tie, and sure enough, it was not too tight. I was very careful to make sure I had the 2 fingers of space in between there. But he's an old man, so he has some old man wrinkles hanging down that makes it look like it's too tight. So I told the students that, but then again praised the student for showing so much compassion for Justice. Mm-hmm. And about 5 minutes later, the same exact little boy took his elbow and elbowed really hard the boy sitting next to him. Uh-oh. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. Do you remember all that compassion that you were showing Justice with his necktie being too tight? Would you ever take your arm and elbow Justice like that? And he got tears in his eyes, and he looked at me and said, "I would never hit Justice that way." And I said, "Well, we can't treat our people friends that way either." So, the thing is that I think teachers hear often, like, bullying, we got to talk about this again. You've been talking to us about bullying since we were in kindergarten. But I will tell you that when we bring the animal aspect into the conversation of bullying, not only does it create those poignant moments where you can just call it straight out like that, and it also gives students the opportunity to practice those core values with animals because some of them don't have it at home. But it makes the students pay attention and hear things in a completely different way. It really is important for us to help hurting people not be hurting anymore so that our animal friends can be safe and so can our people friends.
Oh, I love that. Words to live by. Amen. Allison Basinger joining us, Wayside Waifs, and we're going to head back to the phones in just a couple of seconds for your calls. 1-866-405-8405. It's Animal Radio. We're here to celebrate our connection with our pets, and we're doing that with Terry. Hi, Terry. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Very good. Where are you?
I'm driving through Nashville.
Nashville. Well, say hi.
Hi.
Okay, there you go.
Should probably be a howdy.
I'm from Dallas, though.
How can we help you out today?
Well, I've got a male cat I got at the shelter about 6 years ago, and he's been in the house the whole time. He doesn't go outside, and I was thinking about getting another kitten, and wasn't sure how that would go.
Okay.
Never really
has he been by
around
himself all? Has he been a soul cat all this time?
Yes.
Okay. Well, the biggest thing that I'd say is we're going to go young. The best way to acclimate a new cat into the home is really to get a younger one that we can kind of ask them to take your other kitty as big brother, so that he'll fit into the kitty household. So I'd say look for maybe a kitten or just a young adult cat, and that would be your best bet. For male cats, I have had 2 male cats of my own. Many people believe that to get a male and a female, that you'll get a better combination, a little happier household. But I think a lot of it goes down to the individual personality of the cat. And depending on what your kitty's personality is like now, sometimes finding a friend to frolic with just brings out all that energy, and they can really thrive and really enjoy having a good companion. So I'd go young cat or kitten, and perhaps maybe look at a female if you're looking for to get a boy-girl situation there.
Well, I've always liked male cats better for some reason. They always seem to be, I don't know, easy going. He's just a big old baby. You know, that's what I wanted to do. I went to the shelter about every day for a couple of weeks looking for kittens, and I think I'd much rather have a kitten and male kitten. I'd consider a female, you know.
Yeah, and I've had 2 male cats, and so I'm kind of with you. You know, I love the dynamics. They were such good boys, and I've really enjoyed that. But yeah, I'd say, you know, look for the younger one and introduce slowly. We don't want to kind of overwhelm either cat, so, you know, start the young one off gradually, and I would make sure that, you know, your cat stays top cat, and you respect that. So when you introduce the new one, you know, we're going to restrict her environment, or his or her environment, and kind of gradually work up that introduction, so that hopefully we won't ruffle any fur for your current kitty friend.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
This portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Pet Playgrounds. They are the makers of the safest and most reliable real dog fencing system in the world. A Pet Playgrounds fence can be installed by anyone on any terrain, even over rocks and tree roots and uneven land, and it costs less than a traditional fence. Listen up. Use the code ANIMALRADIO at checkout, and you'll save yourself 10%. Learn more over at petplaygrounds.com. Which one are we going to?
Let's go to line 4. We have Rick.
Hey, Rick. Welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you doing?
Good. I have Dr. Debbie here.
Yes, I have a chocolate lab. She's about 6 years old, and she's got some real flaky skin. We've taken her to the vet a couple times, and they've put her on prednisone, and my wife's got some hot spot spray that she's been spraying on her. It's got tea tree oil and aloe vera in it. It's all natural and stuff. And we've switched her dog food, but she still gets these bumps, and she's losing some of her hair, you know, and her skin is real flaky.
Okay.
And we don't know what else to do with her. We've been giving her oatmeal baths and even the oatmeal shampoo on her for quite a while. But
and with her being flaky, is she flaky all over, or is the flake kind of more like stuck to her skin and coming off in like patches?
Yeah, it's coming off into patches.
Okay. All right. Is she on any kind of flea tick control here?
Yeah, we give her, what is it? I can't even think of the name of the stuff now. But we get it from the vet. What's the brand name stuff?
Okay. It's always hard when the vet asks you I have that all the time where I'll ask people, what food do you feed? And it's kind of like deer in the headlights. They're like, oh, it's the blue bag. Right. It's the one with the little slash on it. So that's okay. All right. Well, with a Labrador, definitely we have a lot of different potential causes when we're talking about skin problems. So the good old seasonal allergies combined with food allergies tend to be a really big pot of potential causes for that type of problem. So, you know, some of the things you're doing aren't bad, and if we're not making headway, then I'd certainly want to try looking at doing a couple other things there. For any dog with itchiness, hair loss, dry skin, one of the really natural things that I'm a fan of doing is supplementing omega fatty acids. So typically these tend to be the fish oils. So we're not talking about just taking Crisco or pouring vegetable oil on the food. Those tend to to be higher in omega-6 fatty acids. And we really need to supplement in dogs' diet the omega-3s, which are naturally poor in dog foods. Right. It's just something we have to add in. So fish oils would be a great place to start to add that in to as an oral supplement.
We've been giving her a couple capsules of fish oil every day for the past month and a half, and things just haven't changed there either. So.
Okay. All right. And being a Labrador, some of the other common problems that can be linked with skin disease can be thyroid disorders. So if you haven't already had this baby's thyroid level checked, that would be something that I would definitely recommend. Hypothyroidism, or an underactive thyroid, can definitely cause problems with hair loss. It can cause problems with dry skin, even things like weight gain. And gosh, most Labradors love those calories, so they grab onto those calories really well. So that might be something worthwhile looking into. And in many cases, even if I don't see them, I'll either do a test for skin mites, or I'll just go ahead and start treating for mites, especially when we have some chronic problems. There are some various types of mites that can be present, and they're not visible by the naked eye, that can complicate some of these skin therapies when we're doing this. So that would be one other thing to consider trying. And then a diet management, for me, if we can play hardcore tough love mom and dad, then that is a great strategy when we have a dog that we're worried about the skin and maybe they have some food allergy. And that basically is not just simply changing brands of food, but really working with your veterinarian to find a hypoallergenic diet. And that means we have to be very super strict in the household. No treats, no rawhides, no goodies off of mom and dad's plate, no even edible supplements, things like heartworm preventatives. We have to switch to the kind that don't have flavorings in them. Those type of things we have to really limit if we're doing a very serious food trial. And there's different strategies with that. We've talked some on this show before about the hydrolyzed protein diets, as well as the novel protein diets. And there's different schools of thought with that. But that would be something to also talk to your veterinarian, because that's kind of a 2-hour lecture from Dr. Debbie. As Hal says, sometimes I can get kind of passionate about these topics. Yes. But I think that is one of the things. And actually, we know compliance with food allergy prescriptions. When I give a prescription to someone and say, okay, I'd like you to follow this hypoallergenic diet, research shows that only 20% of pet owners can actually do that because of household situations, and also just compliance, because it is tough. So that would be one thing that if you can do it and you can kind of put all your efforts into that, that one thing might make a big difference. So that would be another thing to really look at for this kid. And in some cases, if I do all these things and we're still feeling like we're treading water and we're not getting ahead of the game, there are veterinary dermatologists if we need to do specialized allergy testing, or even just a, consultation to give us some direction. So if that's something where your veterinarian feels like they've kind of taken it as far as they can, see if that's an option for you as well. There's a lot more that we can do. It just depends on, how aggressive you want to get about getting an answer. I've actually gone to taking a biopsy sometimes of pet skin, and we'll find out, that's a hormone-related disease. Oh, my gosh, we need to check this dog for thyroid disorders. We need to check this dog for a Cushing's disease. And it gives us a different direction. Okay.
Yeah, we have 2 other labs. We got another chocolate lab puppy. She's 7 months old. And then we got a yellow lab that's 8 years old. And they don't have it. So would the mites spread if that was what it was?
Some kinds can, but others can be more of an immune problem, so it can be an individual problem. Particularly Demodex type mites are not typically contagious in the normal sense of the word. And it sounds like you're a man who loves his labs, just like my household.
Do. We've gone. This is our 5th one now, or we've had 5 already, and a couple of them. One had cancer here last year, and we had to put him to sleep. And the other one, she was like 16 years old, and we put her to sleep. And we've got the ashes all in the house there, and little things with pictures and stuff. So, we love our dogs. We're out here in the woods, and we love it out here. So,
well, they're all close with you, I'm sure, and looking on. Yeah. Well, best wishes with you there, Rick, and I hope that gives you a little direction there with that baby. And, I don't know if you have a preference on the labs. I find that chocolate labs, sometimes I do see a little bit more skin disease in them, especially food allergies. So just kind of something I'd have to say. This past week I had 2 chocolate labs come in that had food allergies that we were working on.
Wow. 1-866-405-8405 is the number here. It is toll-free to talk to any one of what we call our dream team. I think you'll agree.
Celebrating the connection with our pets. This is Animal Radio, featuring your dream team, veterinarian Dr. Debbie White and groomer Joey Villani. And here are your hosts, Hal Abrams and Judy Francis.
All right, we're having a lot of fun today. Hopefully you are too. Here's the number, toll-free, 1-866-405-8405. And we'll go back to the phones in just a couple of seconds for your calls for Dr. Debbie or for dog father Joey Villani. And don't forget, you can also ask your questions directly from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android. Go download that puppy right now. I got some email for you, Dr. Debbie, and I'll read it to you in just a couple of seconds here. In fact, here, you better check it out first. So you have a little heads up. It's about goat's milk. And, a lot of people talk about goat's milk and whether or not they should feed their animals goat's milk. In just a few minutes, we're going to visit with Fred Levy, or Levy. Levy. Mm-hmm. He's a photographer for animals. He photographs pets for a living, and he's put together a new book called Black Dog Syndrome, because black dogs, as far as I know, are always the ones at the shelters that are never adopted. And so he wanted to figure out how to increase the adoptions, and he's focused on just these beautiful dogs.
Yeah, I guess that, when you take pictures of shelter dogs, the black dogs just don't
show up,
photograph as well. So I think he's got some great tips and some great shots on the best way to photograph a black dog.
Okay, well, that's on the way. Lori Brooks working hard in the newsroom.
I don't want to freak anybody out, but there's been a new discovery by scientists of flying spiders.
Huh?
And where these things hang out is pretty close to something that we're near all the time.
Flying
As an arachnophobe myself, I know. I promise I'll tell you. And we'll be safe. There's a way to be safe about it, okay?
Remember what I say is spiders are our friends. Here at Animal Radio.
Yeah, but they just don't have to touch me.
I know.
So this email for Dr. Debbie, it comes in from Steve. Steve writes, "Hey, Doc Debbie, love the show. I have a 2-year-old Maltipoo that's very hefty, big in size. And I saw goat's milk at the pet store, and I read up on it, and I saw it has some good benefits. How do you feel about goat's milk? What do you think?"
Well, goat's milk is a great nutritional product, but in a pet that is overweight, we really don't need to be adding an extra form of liquid calories here. And I would say, Steve, you're probably better off to work on weight loss and deal with keeping your pet satisfied. Because if we're adding liquid calories, you're going to have to cut back other calories. And when you do that, you're going to have an unsatisfied, hungry pet. But, I think some of this kind of comes from, there's actually kind of a movement where a lot of people drink raw goat's milk for health benefits. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of antioxidants and, there's all of these, purported, benefits. That's for raw goat's milk, and raw goat's milk means it's unpasteurized. So I am never a fan of unpasteurization in our pets, because, that basically means that the risk of foodborne illness like E. coli and salmonella is heightened. So that would definitely not be something that I would be looking for doing. But to just give goat's milk for the sake of giving it, no, I really don't feel the need to do that if you're on a good quality diet. Some of these things are a little bit of a marketing thing, so you don't have to buy milk for your dog.
Okay.
Maybe try some green beans, huh?
Green beans.
We do that all the time. We call it the green bean diet.
Those are fun. There's a nice crunch. Dogs get a little bit of satisfaction. But yeah, the liquid supplements are going to be just that. Calorie supplements.
Our cats love green beans.
Yeah, and I pet sit these dogs that's part of their daily diet. They get green beans mixed in with their kibble.
Spoiled little dogs. Okay, so thanks, Steve, for your question. Great question. And Steve wrote in his question from the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android and BlackBerry. So download it now. So you have a question. He asked his question, it looks like, at 4:13 a.m. So
we're not going to answer it that time.
Not going to answer it right away. No. But we'll take your questions as soon as we get them and answer them for you. And we go to Moika. Is it Moika? Am I pronouncing your name right?
You're pronouncing it correctly.
How are you doing today?
Oh, well, been better.
You've been better. I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, no, it's just the bad one. That's what I call her. Has gotten worse again.
Oh, no.
I don't know what I did.
Oh, well, tell us the story. What's going on?
I was a failed foster, and I knew when I got her that she was a little snappy and nervous, but she was okay as a foster. Of course, they were separate from my other dog, who was 7 years older and blind, and at the time, that's the only problem she had. So, a failed foster, I decided to keep her, and she started growling when she was on the couch with me, when she was on the bed with me, and then I heard, oh, nope, put her down, don't let her up there without your permission. So I did that, and they were okay for, I'd say, a good year or two.
Okay.
Recently, I'm working longer. My son, who used to take them out during the day, he's working, so he's not able to do it. The blind dog has now got tons of other problems, so in the morning, I'm waking up, I'm giving her 3 medications, orally, 3 medications, in her eye, and then the same thing at night, too. So I guess she's getting more attention or something. I don't know. But now the failed foster is just, she's growling, she's lunging every time she walks near her.
So if the older dog walks near the foster dog, that's when she is attacking? Or vice versa?
Yeah.
And is she attacking her when you're applying the medications at that time?
No, she's it's just when she's walking by us. If she's laying on the pad on her bed and she's walking around, she's now in the habit of just circling, and it's really kind of distressing to see her just walk and not lay down for a few minutes. But if
your older dog is, so
she'll growl. Oh my gosh.
Okay. Well, I mean, it sounds like this has been a complicated situation for a while. And sometimes when there is a health change in one pet, it can alter the dynamics in the household. So, say, for instance, if your dog suddenly became blind, that can make the foster dog very unsettled, because sometimes pets with disabilities, whether they don't hear, don't see well, or if they have mobility issues, their movements can be a bit erratic and not the typical behavior cues that they use to read and say, okay, this dog's coming up to me, he's not a threat to me. So you need to be very vigilant when you have a pet that is having health issues, because that can definitely trigger an aggressive bout. So if your foster dog has a problem with the other dog, we have 2 things that we would want to do. One, I would never leave these 2 alone, unattended. Okay. The risk of injury could be substantial. Now, there are some dogs that the aggressive bouts may be more when the human is around. And in those cases, then we want to really work very hard at reaffirming those good behaviors, those deferential behaviors. So we used to say that, we always reward the dominant dog. And that's not the case. We don't reward dominance in the sense of anxiety or aggression. What we do want to reward is we want to reward calm behaviors and kind of use that as a marker that you're going to get affection or you're going to get treats if you're behaving in a calm way. So if we start to see any visual cues that either dog is becoming aggressive, we've got very stiff body posture, ears are back, the tail is held high up. In the one case of your one dog, if we have direct eye contact, those can be clues to you that we have an anxious dog and you have the potential for a bomb to go off. You need to redirect that dog and show them into a down, a sit, a calm posture, and then reward that. So that puts a lot of challenge in your shoulders, because you're going to have to be foreseeing those kind of episodes. But there are often problems we'll see with aggression when they have to go through a physical space, a hallway. And that, too, you need to anticipate that and make sure you maintain physical control of both dogs during that time. And it may mean working with the foster dog separately. And if she doesn't have good skills when it comes to following your lead, when it's down, sit, come, then you need to work on that privately without the other dog around. And that should be something she should master. And it's not necessarily, we say a command, but that kind of makes it sound like, we're do this, do that. We want her to listen to you and for her to learn to be calm, and you will get good things. And that may be something when the other dog comes around, if she's behaving calmly. If she's got her ears back and she's growling, you don't want to reward her. You don't want to say, good girl. Wow. So I know that's hard. So you may need to, work with, a lot of times with these problems with aggression, you need to work with a trainer or with an assistant, somebody else who can help you, because working with two dogs in an aggression situation can be tough. So you need to make sure you keep control of the aggressor, and then someone may need to help keep the blind and hearing impaired dog under physical control, just so they don't get into a situation. So
she's sitting next to me with the muzzle on now.
Oh, okay.
I know she's unhappy, but that's the only way I know to keep her safe.
And dogs don't have to be unhappy wearing a muzzle. You can train a dog to wear a muzzle and have it be a positive thing. So it just takes time. So if you just throw a muzzle on, yes, it can be seen as a sense of punishment. But if you put peanut butter on it and it gets used to it, then it becomes their own. So it doesn't have to be a tool that is a punishment. So don't think of it that way, or you're going to approach the situation in the wrong way in your mindset.
Rub off on
exactly. Yep. Think positively. Well, good luck with things.
Thanks for your call, Monica. We appreciate it. Toll free, 1-866-405-8405 to reach out to anyone of the Dream Team right now. Well, this portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Company of Animals. Now, it's important to handle any pet behavioral issues with love and care rather than pain and punishment. And that is exactly why Dr. Roger Mugford from the Company of Animals created the Pet Corrector. This little gadget here, the Pet Corrector, allows you to safely change unwanted behaviors in your dog, like, excessive barking. Hint, hint. Find out more at companyofanimals.us.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
Like the taste of fresh apples? Try an Angry Orchard hard cider. At Angry Orchard, we believe in tradition. That's why we use apples from a 100-year-old orchard. It takes 2 apples to make each bottle of Angry Orchard. So raise a glass to a time when apples were best served in a pint glass. Angry Orchard, when you're looking for something a little different. Crisp, refreshing, and not too sweet. Just like me. Angry Orchard hard cider. Branch out.
Angry Orchard Cider Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Drink responsibly.
Last Friday, Allison Cohn made her status FBF to a pic of me as a pipsqueak. Awkward. It got 59 likes and 12 comments. Impressive, Allie. Geico also has a comment on your Flashback Friday. Did you know Geico has been saving people money on car insurance for over 75 years? Bet you didn't even know they made cars back then. And if you think your flashback is awkward, you should see our pic. Hashtag blurry. Hashtag over 75 years of savings.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
As an entrepreneur, you're always on the go. So turn your mobile phone into a business phone system with Grasshopper, the entrepreneur's phone system. Get a new business number or keep your current one. Sound professional with a main greeting and multiple extensions that forward callers to your mobile phone. You can even get voicemails transcribed. Join over 150,000 small businesses who stay connected with Grasshopper. See how it works at grasshopper.com. The entrepreneur's phone system.
Hello, I'm David Bellamy, the Bellamy Brothers, and we're on Animal Radio. Love your animals.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
You found us, Animal Radio. Grab your pets. Come on around the radio. I see that Facebook celebrated 1 billion subscribers, members. So
Users,
that's 1 in every 7 people on Earth now use Facebook.
Gosh.
Wow.
It's hard to believe.
Unbelievable.
And I believe that most of them are attracted because of Wacky Wednesday over at Animal Radio's Facebook page. I could be wrong on that, but go with me on that. That's because we offer some great prizes for your wacky pictures, and when you upload them over at our Facebook page, the most likes and the most shares by the end of the week picks up these awesome prizes from our sponsors. What do we have this week, Ms. Francis?
It's not just one prize. It's a whole package from Synergy Labs.
Ooh.
We got a whole group of stuff. We're going to start with, we have the Shed X Shed Control Shampoo for dogs. Then we have the ShedX nutritional supplement for dogs. And don't forget the Dental Fresh Advanced Whitening for your animals, along with Groomer's Salon Select Oatmeal Itch Relief Shampoo, and last but not least, Fooey Spray.
Fooey?
Fooey, yeah, it's one of those bitter sprays I think you spray on stuff so your dog won't chew on it. And Synergy Labs, because they're more than just pets.
Oh, well, that sounds like a nice
Get
package.
this great package. Yeah, it's a great package with all these items.
And if you don't have a wacky picture, take one now of you and your pets, or just your pets, and upload it over at our Facebook page at Animal Radio. And if you don't want to, upload a picture, at least vote.
Yeah.
Check out the pictures every Wednesday. That should.
I get a kick out of it. There are a lot of really cool things that people do, dressing up their pets, or just the expressions are priceless.
I noticed this last week. There was a lot of cats, so that was nice to see that it was the cats were representing last week.
Exactly.
Miss Lori Brooks, what are you working on over there in the newsroom?
There's a really well-known company that makes makeup that used to be really well-known for being anti-cruelty, but now it turns out a company that they own is having to admit that, their products are being tested on animals. So we'll tell you about that and give you the latest and how Hollywood is reacting to it coming up.
Can't wait. Right here on Animal Radio. Stick around for that. Susan Sims is joining us. She is in Los Angeles as they kick off the Fido-Friendly 7th annual month-long adoption tour. Get your licks on Route 66.
Oh, my gosh, you guys. We are having so much fun. We get to do this every year from L.A. to Chicago, helping to place, all these puppies and kittens into new forever homes, and Animal Radio has always been our wonderful media sponsor. So I just want to thank you before we say anything else. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
It's not just an adoption thing going on. You have the big wheel there where you can circle and get all kinds of prizes, and I think you could spin the wheel for like $2, which is great.
Yes.
And of course that money goes to the shelters there, but you also have this year, and this is really, really cool, if you donate to the tour $10, you get a subscription of Fido Friendly Magazine, the digital subscription, 1-year subscription for $10, a $10 donation, which is really, really awesome. And then if you want to up the ante, $30, you'll get one of the T-shirts. And these are great T-shirts. Every year I take mine and I collect it. And I have one that I won't wear that I just keep in my collection. The Get Your Licks on Route 66 T-shirt. So $30 helps the animals. You get the T-shirt. A lot of great things going on. Today you're hanging out with Brandon McMillan, till 1 p.m.?
This guy's great. If anyone's ever seen Lucky Dog on CBS, Brandon McMillan is all about training rescue dogs and for families, and so he is going to be with us until 1 o'clock.
And the cast of The Young and the Restless, they're always doing something for the animals, and they're hanging out with you today too. So you want to check that out, and that's happening over at the Van Nuys LA Animal Shelter. And that's at 14409 Van Owen Street in Van Nuys. And we'll put links in all of the dates of the Fido Friendly Get Your Licks on Route 66 adoption tour over at animalradio.com. Next week, we're going to be in Phoenix, Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Amarillo, Oklahoma City, Tulsa, Springfield, Joplin, St. Louis, Chicago, Springfield, Kansas City, and Merriam, Kansas.
Wow.
All on the docket. So now's the time to come on out, visit us, play with us, have fun with us, and maybe go home with a forever friend. What do you think about that?
Everybody, please come out. We would love to see you.
Beautiful. Susan Sims, the luckiest gal on earth because she gets to do this tour every year. It's just got to end. We got to do it next year. I'm sorry. We're going to head back to the phones for your calls. Hi, Henry.
Hi. I have a kind of a geriatric old black cat. He's my favorite cat. Getting kind of old there. And I noticed that he has a patch on his rear side that doesn't seem to ever heal. And it gets bigger, and he bites at it all the time. I noticed, though, that it kind of recovers, never fully, when I give him his flea drops for the month.
Okay, so it gets better when he is treated for his flea treatment.
Yeah, the family actually thinks that it might be dust mites, but, I wanted to get the official doctor.
Well, definitely, fleas actually are the number one allergenic material for cats. So when they have skin disease and they're chewing and scratching, approximately 80% of the time it's flea allergy disease. So that's the number one thing. So if the flea treatment seems to be helping, that could be part of the thing. Now, whether or not it's mites or something microscopic, possibly. Is this an indoor kitty or an outdoor kitty?
Well, it's an indoor and outdoor kitty. We're trying to get him to. we have a big house. You know what I mean? We can't. He likes to run. You know what I mean? He's supposed to be inside, but you know he gets in and out. You know.
Okay. Just because, for an older cat that's indoors, mites aren't terribly common unless there's something else going on. So when they're immunosuppressed or some other disease process is going on, and then maybe we can have a mite problem. But, actually, skin disease in older cats can even occur with health problems like diabetes and thyroid problems. So if this is a geriatric kitty, it might be well worth a trip to the vet to make sure we don't have something like that going on. And then really focus on some of the skin treatments that we might try beyond the flea treatment. And those might include certainly types of hypoallergenic diets that we can try using. And for some kitties, it's really a matter of making sure that we're on a good quality diet, we're doing regular grooming procedures, and then, checking out things like even arthritis in older kitties. It's a subtle, silent problem that they don't often complain about, but I do see cats groom themselves excessively in the hindquarters areas when they are having pain down there. So it can be one of those kind of things that you don't always know about, but a little treatment with some glucosamine might be a trick to try as well to see if your kitty is having some of those aching joints that comes along with old age.
Okay, thank you so much, because that excessive licking and that description how he's moving does sound kind of like, you get key points even without being here.
Oh, well, good. Hey, reaching across those radio waves to help our listeners.
It's time for another Nutrilife pet tip.
Our animals are so stoic and proud we hardly know when they're in pain. But if your animal limps or favors one leg,
or if it has difficulty going up and down stairs or just getting in and out of the car,
or it could be simple as they are just withdrawn, these are all symptoms of arthritis.
And do you know that nearly 70% of cats and 40% of dogs have arthritis?
So take a moment today to evaluate your pet's joint health.
That was a Nutrilife pet tip. Visit NutrilifePet.com. Sadly, many dogs suffer with weak joints, affecting their ability to walk. Thankfully, there's Ultra Joint and Liver Support from Nutrilife Pet with Sam E., the proven supplement for joint health. Ultra Joint and Liver Support from Nutrilife Pet can help restore your animal's quality of life. Buy one box of Ultra Joint and Liver Support and get one free by using coupon code Animal Radio. Order yours at www.NutrilifePet.com and get your pet up and running.
This is an Animal Radio News Update, brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy, with prescription medications and over-the-counter products like Advantix flea and tick medication delivered right to your door. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
I'm Lori Brooks. Actress and animal rights activist Pamela Anderson has written a letter to MAC or MAC makeup owner and friend John Dempsey expressing her extreme disappointment in the brand for testing on animals. Let me explain some background on this. You see, Pamela Anderson used to be a spokesperson for that same brand, but recently learned that the supposedly cruelty-free brand now admittedly tests on animals wherever it is required by law, like in China. MAC's parent company is Estee Lauder, and they released a statement acknowledging the accusation, saying, quote, "We are committed to providing our products and services to our consumers wherever they live, and we must comply with all legal requirements in the countries where we do business." But the cosmetic giant shows no signs of wanting to pull their products out of China. Scientists already knew that spiders can forsake their many legs and instead fly through the air if they want. That's horrific to somebody like me. Now it's been discovered that there are skydiving spiders in the forest of South America that can actually manipulate their flight. Pretty freaky for arachnophobes, huh? You see, this nocturnal hunting spider is really a tree dweller. And occasionally, nature happens. It's forced to abandon its home, or it might be blown off by a stiff wind. Well, when that happens, scientists say this spider can literally manipulate its 2-inch wide body to guide its trajectory to the safety of another branch or tree trunk. And they say this leads them to believe that many animals living in trees are good at aerial gliding. Animals from snakes and lizards to ants and now spiders. Holy cow. Well, happier days are ahead for some former circus animals who last week were part of a flying caravan aboard Mexican Navy planes to a Colorado wildlife sanctuary. It was the first time Mexico's Navy had ever participated in an animal relocation effort that included, this one did, 8 lions, 2 lynxes, a puma, and a coyote, and they are all now living a much better life after being found abused or abandoned. You see, Mexico recently enacted a ban on exotic animal performances in circuses, and many of the former circus owners say now they can't afford to maintain animals who don't make money for them. I'm Lori Brooks. Be sure to get more breaking animal news whenever you need it, anytime at animalradio.com.
This has been an Animal Radio News Update brought to you by Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Pharmacy. With everyday low prices on products like Quellin and Rimadyl delivered right to your door with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Learn more at fosterandsmith.com.
Doctors Foster and Smith Pet Supplies have a Vet VIPPS accredited online pharmacy covering all your pet's needs, from heartworm medications and anti-inflammatories like Rimadyl to non-prescription items like Canine Advantix Flea and Tick Preventive. Doctors Foster and Smith has your pet covered. We'll even contact your vet for you, all with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. Low prices every day with free shipping on orders over $49. Shop online at fosterandsmith.com because your pet's health and happiness come first.
How strong is Allegra D?
It's jumping in a pile of leaves with my kids strong.
Allegra D, a fast, non-drowsy antihistamine plus a powerful decongestant that starts relieving your toughest allergy symptoms in 1 hour.
Yep, I am going to take that hayride strong.
It's breathing free for 24 hours, even after a day of apple picking strong.
Allegra D, strong relief for your allergy symptoms, guaranteed or your money back. Visit Allegra.com. Use only as directed.
You're listening to Animal Radio. If you missed any part of today's show, visit us at animalradio.com or download the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android.
I always have trouble taking pictures of my animals, especially like Ladybug, the studio stunt dog, who's supposed to be the spokes dog for Animal Radio, couldn't take a good photo of her on a bet. I think
really?
We have one stock photo that, if you've noticed and you look on all of the materials, it's just the same photo.
Well, and you know, I've always had black dogs.
Yeah, those are really hard to photograph because
it was a challenge.
Oh, well, then you're going to love our next guest. We have Fred Levy joining us. He is probably one of the foremost photographers in pet photography. You know, he makes a living out of taking pictures of animals. So there's a job that's better than we have right there. Fred, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
So taking pictures of black dogs is tough, but you've actually devoted a book to it, a brand new book called The Black Dogs Project, Extraordinary Black Dogs and Why We Can't Forget Them. Obviously a book of all black dogs, and I'm wondering why you selected that as your subject.
Well, it all started from a conversation I had at a dog park where one was talking about how black dogs had a harder time getting adopted than other dogs.
Why is that? Do you know?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I don't think there's one exact reason. I think there's probably a lot of things that go into it, and I think photography is one of those reasons. I think being that most shelters are nonprofits that have limited resources and lots of volunteers, most people aren't very good at taking pictures under those kind of circumstances. So when they take a picture of a black dog, like in a cage under fluorescent lights, they don't look very appealing if you can even see the dog at all. The dog ends up usually look like a black blob with a, maybe you can see the eyes a little bit. I think that's part of the reason that it's happening, because first thing people are going to do nowadays is they're going to go online and search for a dog, and if they see a bad photo, something that might look like a dog, then they'll probably just pass it by.
Well, you've made an art out of taking photos of black dogs. How do you do it?
Well, I do all the shooting for this book I've been doing in my studio. I have a small studio in my house.
Okay.
And so I set up a bunch of lights. I've set up the backdrop. And fortunately, it's a small space, so the animals can't really run around too much. And we just try to, take the photos that we need to take.
And do you use any kind of special lighting or backdrops?
It's a really basic black backdrop. And I use, there's actually as many as 4 different lights that are being used at once for taking the shot. There's
and
one.
It's in a black backdrop, huh?
Yeah, that's weird.
How do you make that work?
Well, you focus the light where you want it to be, and not where you don't want it. So I I want the backdrop to kind of fall away for the most part. So I focus all the light in a very small area where the dog is going to be sitting, which is in front of that backdrop. The backdrop is what's called a seamless backdrop, where it's just basically a piece of fabric that kind of comes down and then comes to the floor, so you don't actually see like the crease of an edge of a floor of a room. But if you're working with a shelter and you're trying to get good pictures, you need to really think about where the light is and how the light is hitting the dog first, and then figure out how do I get a good backdrop that doesn't conflict with the dog, or I'm not shooting through a fence or a cage or something like that. Those are the things that I try to tell people. I'm actually giving a workshop to a local shelter that's inviting a bunch of other shelters to come by and learn how to get good pictures.
That's great.
Oh, that's
so important.
Should, put up on a website or something so other shelters that can't be in attendance can look and get some tips.
Yeah, I want to try to videotape it so that I can let people see it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Well, I encourage listeners to check out your website, Fred Levy Art, and that's spelled Levy. And we'll put a link over at animalradio.com. And in fact, we're going to give away 5 copies of this awesome book, which I don't have in hand, but I've seen a copy online, and it looks like the ultimate coffee table book. Great job. Well, tell us about the dogs that are in the book.
Oh, there's 50-something dogs that are in the book. I photographed about 75 total. One that always pops into mind is Denver. He's a black lab, which obviously is a pretty common breed. But he's also a therapy dog, and what's kind of funny about him is I've actually photographed him before when he was just a puppy. I did an Easter shoot where it was pictures with your dog with the Easter bunny at a pet store. But that was the first time I actually photographed Denver. But then after I started this project, she came by again and brought Denver, and he's just such a good dog to kind of be around. As a therapy dog, he actually goes into elementary schools and hangs out with the kids, especially ones that are feeling like stressed out or worried about something. He'll spend time with those specific kids and just make them feel better.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Whenever I advocate for a dog, I always try to pick a black dog, knowing that, they're not going to have as many people rooting for them or looking at them. But I actually looked up one time and the black dog syndrome, and I believe it was the ASPCA that said that they did research and can't find that there is such a thing.
I know, I heard that.
I disagree, but that's what they say.
Well, that's true. There are people who are looking at the numbers on sort of a national scale and saying that, this isn't really a thing. But part of that that might not be being taken into account is that there are such a large number of black dogs, so there's probably more black dogs just in general than there are of any other dogs that are in these shelters. Even if this isn't an actual statistical thing that they can prove, there's enough people who believe it and have seen it from their personal experiences, whether they have that kind of knowledge or not, that it's worth at least considering.
Sure. Well, interesting concept, great book. I encourage listeners to check it out. Once again, the website, fredlevyart.com, and we'll put links to everything you've heard on today's show over at animalradio.com. Fred, thanks so much for hanging with us and the wonderful work you're doing.
Hey, thanks for having me.
This portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Nutrilife Ultra Joint and Liver Support. Now, if your pet has difficulty walking or running, may I encourage you to try out Ultra Joint and Liver Support from Nutrilife Pet with Sammy. You've heard about it, Sammy. And just for you buy one box, you'll get one free for using the code Animal Radio. Here's the phone number, 1-844-PET-SAME. That's 1-844-PET, S-A-M-E. Or you can visit them over at NutralifePet.com.
This is Animal Radio, baby.
Let's head back to the phones right now at 1-866-405-8405. We go to Scott. Hey, Scott.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How you doing today?
Not too bad. We have 2 miniature dachshunds, one 9 pounds and one 15. And one of them, the bigger one, we got from a shelter, and she has really bad teeth. Like, they didn't take care of it at all when before we got her. And we're wondering if there's anything that can be done. We still, brush the teeth and stuff, but I didn't know if there's anything to, get the teeth back to normal. Looks like they're got really bad teeth right now.
I'll say right off of the bat, dachshunds sometimes can really have exaggerated periodontal problems compared to some other breeds, especially little dogs. So if you have a little dog, we really want to jump on dental care very early on. And in your situation there, Scott, if you've adopted and she's kind of not had dental care up till now, I think the first thing that we need to do is really see about getting a professional dental cleaning. And that's very important because to try to brush teeth on a dog that has advanced dental disease, it's a painful process. So you want to start fresh with healthy teeth. So see your veterinarian, get a cleaning, polishing scheduled, and, see if there's any problem teeth in there that need to come out of there. In many cases, we need to deal with those problems before we can actually get on a good preventative care regimen at home. But you're definitely right to be worried because, we know that dental disease is a big problem, and we know it causes a lot of other health manifestations in the body. And in fact, by the age of 3 years, 85% of all dogs and cats will have some degree of periodontal disease. So it's really a very startling thing. And if you're not making efforts now, it is time. So once you get your dog's teeth cleaned, there are some important things that you can do at home. And brushing teeth by far is the best thing. If you do it 3 times a week, you're going to have some benefit. But even if that's not something that your dog will take to, there's some other products out there. Oral rinses that you can apply to the gum line. There's additives you add to the water that can actually help prevent plaque accumulation on the teeth. And then, of course, most people know about the treats and the different dental diets out there. And actually, some of them are actually proven to have a benefit. And there is a organization called the Veterinary Oral Health Council, and there's actually a seal of approval that they give to very common dental treats and diets. So some of those things may be another avenue that we can use. And again, once that mouth is clean and we've got a good, healthy starting point.
Definitely. Well, thanks a lot for your help.
Thanks, Scott. This portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Pet Playgrounds. They are the makers of the safest and most reliable real dog fencing system in the world. A Pet Playgrounds fence is a real physical fence, but it's nearly invisible. It's the most effective and affordable way to protect your dog. Listen up. Use the code Animal Radio at checkout and you'll save 10%. Learn more over at petplaygrounds.com.
Fido Friendly Magazine presents the 7th annual month-long pet adoption tour, Get Your Licks on Route 66. With advocate sponsor Shelby, A Magical Holiday Tale coming soon to DVD, along with community sponsors Zeus Dog Toys, Pet Kieran, Dermagic, and Blue Dog Bakery. Media sponsor Animal Radio. The tour travels from LA to Chicago, powered by Sprint Rentals, stopping at shelters along the way to support adoption events. Log on to GetYourLicks on Route66.com to find out where the tour stops near you.
You're listening to Animal Radio. Call the Dream Team now at 1-866-405-8405.
This portion of Animal Radio is underwritten by Nutrilife Ultra Joint and Liver Support. If your pet has difficulty walking or running, give this a try. Ultra Joint and Liver Support from Nutrilife Pet with Sammy. Sammy! Buy 1 box and get 1 free by using the code Animal Radio. Call 1-844-PET-SAMMY. That's 1-844-PET-SAME. Or visit them over at their website at NeutralifePet.com. Thanks, guys, for underwriting Animal Radio. Hey, Cindy.
Hello.
Welcome to Animal Radio. I've got the good doctor, Dr. Debbie, right here. What's up?
Hi.
Well, hello, Dr. Debbie. We listen to you every Saturday morning when we're traveling, so we appreciate the good advice.
Oh, well, thank you for tuning in.
I have a 3-year-old golden doodle. She has been being cared for when we're traveling, when hotels won't take her, in a kennel. It is a veterinary kennel. We did a Bordetella shot booster. We do them every 6 months. And they said there was a new strain of Bordetella running around. So because veterinary clinics or the CDC cannot keep up with it, they thought an additional booster would help her. So we did a booster about 3.5 weeks after she had the first one. And we brought her home, and now she's trying to clear her nose, constantly sneezing, and it feels like she's trying to blow her nose. And
okay.
She's lethargic.
Okay. And this is, I'm sorry, how long after that vaccination was given?
It was about 3.5, 4 weeks.
Okay. All right. And, I guess the bottom line with Bordetella is that there's different types of vaccination. So there's an intranasal form that's kind of like the flu mist vaccination. So like little kids get that nasally sprayed. And there's an injection form. And I'd have to say we do see some potential clinical signs after an intranasal Bordetella. Usually it's pretty mild and self-limiting, a little sneezing, coughing, reverse sneezing, that horrible like kind of sound.
Right.
So usually it's pretty short in its duration. Kind of depends. If I have a pet who's really sick, then I will definitely do some lab work on them, and we can do specific testing for different agents and whether or not we can say it's from the vaccination or not. I have had the occasional pet have those kind of clinical signs after a nasal Bordetella vaccine, but I still believe in the product, and it can be very good for a pet that has a upcoming boarding visit, and it gives us kind of in a pinch in the quick time frame, it gives us some of the best protection on that short timeline. But that being said, I want to make sure your baby's well, and if necessary, I would certainly see if we need to get her treated, or maybe at least on an antihistamine to help control some of those signs for her.
Antihistamine such as Benadryl?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, often Benadryl. There's some other ones that we'll prescribe as well, just to kind of help, minimize those clinical signs of the sneezing, coughing, that type of thing. Okay. And, if a dog does show a sensitivity with these kind of signs after a nasal Bordetella vaccination, then, we might really look at giving the injectable form in the future, just to kind of avoid that potential. And it sounds like you're a good parent and you're up to date on shots, so that might just be a good strategy for her in the future there.
So the injectables are a 6 month inoculation, or are they a year?
There's a little bit of some controversy with that, and some of that we discuss on the lifestyle and the exposure for the pets. Here we typically, using either product, we'll do that on an every 6 month interval if we have a pet who's in a more of a high-risk group. And that would be pets that are boarded, that go to the grooming parlor, go to pet shows, things like that. If it's only the occasional animal exposure or minimal, then usually we just stick with that once a year vaccination, whether we use the nasal or the injection form. But
well, I appreciate that my vet likes to be very safe, and so we do it every 6 months regardless. You just show up here to get your dog groomed. We're going to make you take the shot, or take the nasal. So we've been doing nasal, but we've never had the symptoms where she's trying to blow her nose. My husband has one more question about it, and he was wondering about exertion. I mean, she just she loves to swim, and we didn't want to. It's the time of year where we take her down to the lake, and she just swims until her tail goes cold. And we've been trying to keep her away from that situation, but he doesn't know how much exertion, because she will play with the ball and swim until we have to go out and get her.
Okay. So this is unrelated to her kind of sneezing thing right now. You're just asking if that's too much for her to do that.
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And, there is a condition we call swimmer's tail, where basically a dog can sprain their tail, and after really intense swimming, retrieving activities, they'll actually have pain in the tail where they don't want to raise it. They mope around, and it can be really uncomfortable. If we're in that category, then I'd say we need to temper things down. But if she seems to recover pretty well, we're watching the ambient temperature, and it's not too hot out for that level of activity, oh my gosh, my dogs will retrieve for an hour at a time, as long as the conditions are right. So if she's enjoying it and seeming to physically hold up to that and not having a sore tail afterwards, then I don't see a problem with that.
Okay. Well, we haven't gone to sore tail we discovered it 2 years ago, and we haven't gone back there. So, a dog is not happy if it's not wagging its tail.
Yes. And my own Labrador has had swimmer's tail before, and it's a pathetic thing, and it's hard to imagine they can actually sprain their tail, but any muscle in her body, overuse it, and you'll feel the difference the next day. So thank you for your call, Cindy, and thanks for tuning in to us here at Animal Radio.
It's about time for us to head on out of here. Before we do so, if you're thinking about getting a pet and you live along Route 66, please check out the website, getyourlicks.com. It has all the dates of where we'll be adopting out animals along Route 66. And don't forget to download the Animal Radio app. We have that same information over there at the app, as well as a lot of other news that you may need, recalls, whatever it might be. If it's news that affects your pets, we have it on the Animal Radio app for iPhone and Android and BlackBerry. I have to throw that in there. Yeah, there's one person might have a BlackBerry.
Exactly.
We encourage you to download that puppy now. I want to thank so much Fred Levy for joining us, as well as Alice Basinger and you, of course. And we'll catch you next week for more Animal Radio right here.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day. Bye.
Always adopt, don't declaw.
This is Animal Radio
Network.